as magic, right? Now, how do you put this rule in words? The examiner will ask you to put this in words. Like you might know what it is, but when it's time to write it out in a paragraph, some of you might not be able to do that. So this is the rule here. Angles standing on the same arc, notice the blue legs, the yellow legs, and the red legs are all standing on the same arc. That's this red arc in my example. And touching the circumference have the same size. We see that all the angles are automatically equal. So if this one was 33, I'm just saying if the rest of them would automatically be 33 as well. I want you all to draw this diagram as neatly as possible. If you want to draw the stick man, feel free, but take down the diagram as neatly as you can. Take down the rule 1 in words, and then take down this rule where the eyes must be looking in the same direction. I haven't explained that as yet. Just take down everything on the screen, and I'll explain the eyes thing just now for you guys, okay? When you're finished, raise your hand so I know how to gauge the class. And well, I know this is obvious. I saw one question. The lines must be straight, right? You're using a ruler, right? The legs have to be straight. It doesn't work with a curve line, right? So make sure and draw, use a ruler to draw it, right? Right, so make sure and draw it. Right? Right, so people are raising their hands. Right, now I just want to, the rule only works when the eyes are looking in the same direction. I know some of you all are confused about that. Give me a few seconds. I will explain it. I did say I would explain it just now, right? So be a little patient. I will get to it. Right? All right, so let me explain that rule. I don't know if you all are into like drawing or what's called it sketching drawings. You know, sometimes when somebody draw an eye, it is look like this, or when you go in a textbook, a science textbook, you just draw an eye like that. I'm not too sure if you're seeing the eye there, but if I put in a nose and a mouth and some teeth here, right? You all see an eye, right? So this person is looking this way. So you all see that's how they draw eyes in textbook, right? They draw it like this, right? So, oops, sorry. The rule only works if the eyes are looking in the same direction. But what eyes? Well, what is Sir talking about? You don't see any eyes. But look at these angles here, right? If I draw this here, and I draw this here, and I draw this here, and then looking like the eyes, this looks like eyes. This eye is looking this way. This eye is looking this way. This eye is looking this way. I want you all to put in that same thing. Convert all of them to eyes. Take the angle and just put a little loop, half a loop there. The rule only works if the eyes are looking in the same general direction. So look at it. The blue eye, the yellow eye, and the red eye are all kind of looking downwards, well, towards the arc. So this rule applies. It's okay to say this is rule 1, and only in that scenario, all the angles will be exactly the same. All right? Right. Now, to really grasp these rules, very few people grasp all of these rules 100%, right? That is normal. Our custom with it. I'm going to explain the rule once, like a few times here. And then you'll see me do a whole set of examples on it. And we'll keep practicing the rules. All right. You will get it before you leave here. So don't panic, right? If you didn't catch it the first rounds. Now, it's very important to note that the angles must touch the circumference. You might be saying, oh God, sir, say that so much times. That's obvious. We know it must, for this rule to work, it must touch the circumference. There's a good reason I'm saying that, and you're going to see why everybody's going to forget about that in a few minutes. Okay, so please forgive me if I say it over and over. Let's move to the next slide. Another version of rule 1. You all notice the slight difference between this rule. This is still rule, we're still on rule 1, eh? But you notice in the last example, the arc was underneath. Suppose the arc is on top. Could we still have a rule 1? Obviously, it doesn't matter where the arc is. The point is, for it to be rule 1, it must start at the beginning of the arc, hit the circumference, and bounce back to the end of the arc. So everyone draw this diagram for me with the arc, the red arc on top. Okay? When you finish, raise your hand so I know how to explain the slightly different version of rule 1. In fact, it doesn't matter where the arc is. The arc could be at the top, underneath, to the left side, to the right side. Okay? All right, so people are finished right now. Look at what's going to happen, and we're going to do the same thing, except we're just going to do it upside down. Right? Look at it. A line starts at point A, the beginning of the arc. It hits the circumference, and it's going to bounce back to point B. There must be an angle here. Now, I don't know what the angle is. That looks like a small angle. It looks approximately 11 degrees. I just approximated, right? So it starts at the beginning of the arc, which is the red. We're concentrating on the red arc. It hits the circumference. Key thing, it must hit the circumference and bounce back to the end of the arc. How about we have another line? Look at that orange line. It started at point A, the beginning of the arc. It hits the circumference again, and guess what? It's going to bounce back to the end of the red arc. And it does, right? Well, no surprise, obviously. There must be an angle here. I guarantee you, if the blue one is 11 degrees, I bet all my money, all $5, the orange one is also 11 degrees, right? Now, I know this is definitely rule 1 if I apply the eyes. If I change this into an eye by putting the eyeball here, the iris, however you call it, and both eyes looking the same general direction, both of them looking towards the arc. So it's okay to say, hey, this is rule 1, and both of them are looking in the same direction. If the eyes are not looking in the same direction, because the examiner will try to fool you, he will give you something looking like rule 1. It'll be like an illusion. It will look like rule 1. But if you look really, really properly, you will realize the eyes not actually looking in the same direction. Like one eye will be looking upwards and the other one will be looking in the opposite direction, downwards. And don't let the examiner catch you with that. If the eyes are not looking in the same direction, it's not rule one. And you cannot assume both angles are the same. So everyone draw this diagram. There's no need to retake this down. You already have this note here. I just need you to draw this diagram exactly like how I have it, with the eyes and the little dotted arrows and everything. Okay? Finish. You know what to do. Raise your hands. The two eyes are looking in the same direction, right? And this eye looking at this red arc and this orange eye looking at this red arc also. Both of them are kind of staring in the same general direction. It doesn't have to be the exact direction, just the same general direction, I guess, right? One's not looking in the opposite directions. So that this is only rule one so far, and guys, rule one. It will take us a good while to go through all 7 rules. I'm really taking my time for this summer. Like I said, to me, this is the hardest topic to teach in maths. Right? Right? Um, If you want to draw in a third example, if you wish, like if you want to draw another line starting at A, hitting the circumference and bouncing back to B, feel free, right? Just make sure it hits the circumference at a different point. He will also be 11 degrees in this example because this green one starts at A and it finishes at B and it is touching the circumference, right? There's no need to draw a fourth and fifth one. I mean, that's just overkill. Right. All right. So before we move on, I'm going to see what the next slide is about, right? And by the way, for those came in late. A lot of people did come in late. The class is being recorded, right? And after class, I will tell everyone how to access the recordings. Because if you know you come late and you miss out on a few things, you need to go through it. Guys, and I'm going to be real strict about in class. So if you reach late and I realize you reach late and you're asking me questions like you review things, I'm not going to answer you. Because the majority of people here came to class on time. They woke up, they said, hey, I'm going to take the class serious. I'm going to come on class on time and respect Sir's time. So if you don't have the same respect for me, like you come to class late with your hand swinging, you know what's going on, yeah, I'm not going to answer you. All right? For classes, log in 15 minutes early. Settle yourself. Don't wait till 9 o'clock or the exact time of the class to log in. Treat the program respect. Right? You treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. Right? All right, so let's move on. Let me just see what the other slide is about. Now, before we move to rule 2, right? Let's have some fun. Right? Let's have some fun. So, how do we earn points for our team? Well, let's get started here. What's going to happen? I'm going to click on this hero shuffle button here. And 2 characters are going to appear. Let's hope 2 cool characters appear from pop culture. Right. So let me do our next shuffle. I don't think some of y'all know the blue character there. All right, this is much better. There are 2 characters on the screen there. All right. Y'all recognize those 2 characters? Anybody wants to tell me on the chat there? Who are those 2 characters? Character A is who? No, that's not Thanos. That's Dr. Doom. A is Dr. Doom from Spider-Man, and B is Boba Fett from Star Wars. Now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to vote which one you all like more. Is it A, Dr. Doom, or is it B, Boba Fett? I'm sure there are a lot of Star Wars fans here, and of course, there must be a lot of Spider-Man villain fans here, right? And what's going to happen? Well, it's better to show you all. Whichever one is more popular has points for certain teams. So we'll get to that in a little while, right? So think about which one you want, and I'm going to launch the polls. For those on YouTube, you can just send your answers on the chat. Let's vote, guys. Are you a Dr. Doom fan or are you a Boba Fett fan? I personally love the Star Wars universe, so I would have gone. All right, let's get started, right? The diagrams are staying on the screen for a very long while. So even if you're not finished, yeah, you'll feel flat. So look at the circle on the left-hand side of the screen. It has an arc, a red arc. It starts at A, it finishes at B. So what's going to happen? It's going to start off just like rule 1. I'm going to draw a line. Look at that yellow line. It starts at point A. It hits the circumference again, just like rule 1. And it's going to bounce back to point B. See? Starts at point A, hits the circumference, and bounces back to point B, which is the end of the arc. There must be an angle here. Let's just assume the angle is 21 degrees. Let's put in 21. It looks like 21 on my diagram. So like I said, at first glance, people are going to roll their eyes and say, this is the same thing as rule one. But it can't be. If one is named rule one and one is rule two, there must be some difference between rule one and rule two. I get into it, don't worry. Be patient, be patient. Right? Right. Right. So what's going to happen now? We're going to start back at point A. Everyone focus on point A again. You're going to draw a line, but this time, look at the green line. The line started at point A, but it didn't hit the circumference this time. Remember in rule one, the other pair of legs will have hit the circumference. This one hits the center instead, and it bounces back to the end of the arc, which is B. So you see the subtle difference? One pair of legs is touching the circumference, that's up here, and the green pair of legs is touching the center. Now it must touch the center. Here's the cool thing. The one at the center, doesn't this look a little bigger? And this angle is definitely looking bigger than the yellow angle. The cool thing about it, the green one, the one that touching the center, does always be twice as large. Always, always, always. It's like magic. So this green angle will be 42 degrees. Because if you take 21 and multiply it by 2, you get 42. If over here was 10, over here would be 20. If over here was 50, down here would be 50. The point is, the one at the center, there's always be twice as large. Or another way of saying it, the one at the circumference, the one who's touching the circumference, is half the value. Right? Any way you want to see it, say it, different textbooks will say the same thing two different ways. Okay? But the eyes must be looking in the same direction. If I change this green one into an eye and this yellow one into an eye, you notice both eyes are looking towards what? And both eyes looking downwards, both of them looking towards the same arc. It's only rule 2 if the eyes are looking in the same direction. I'll put it in words just now for you guys. You don't have to worry. I will put it in words for you all. I just want you all to understand the concept, right? So, will it work if it's upside down? Obviously, because if you take your book and you turn rule 2 upside down, isn't it still rule 2? So this rule should work if it's right side up, I guess, or upside down. So I'm going to draw the upside down version here, right? Starts at B. Well, it doesn't matter which one you call the beginning or the end, right? In this case here, the beginning is B and the end of the arc is A. It's the same arc. It hits the circumference and bounces back to the end. There must be an angle here. Let's assume this angle is 50 degrees. If we have another angle starting at point A, but it hits the circumference instead, it hits the center instead and bounces back. Look at this angle here. This will be 100 degrees. The one at the center will always be twice the size of the one touching the circumference. And if I convert this to an eye, and I convert this to an eye, and both eyes looking towards the same arc or in the same general direction, so this is rule 2. And this is how you put rule 2 in words. Write down rule 2 here in words, and yes, take down back this note here. The eyes looking in the same direction also applies to rule 2, just like how it applied to rule 1, right? So once again, the subtle difference between rule 1 and rule 2 is one pair of legs touches the circumference and the other pair of legs touches the center. It must touch the center. It can't be 1 millimeter away from the center. It has to hit exactly the center, right? When you're finished, take it on everything. You all know the drill. Raise your hands. Right? Once again, right? A lot of it doesn't matter if A Remember at the beginning of class, I mentioned that it doesn't, one side of the arc is B, one side is A. It, you could use any two letters here, right? One letter just represents the beginning of the arc, and the other one represents the end. If you want to, B could be the beginning or the end. If B is the beginning of the arc, A is the end. The point is, both pair of legs are connected to A and B. Right? So it doesn't matter if I connect it to A first or B first. Right? I think that's irrelevant. Right? All right. Well, I think I'm rushing some here. Take half a minute again. And somebody is correcting me that Dr. Doom is from Fantastic Four. Well, that's in the new one. When I grew up in the 80s. In the 80s, Dr. Doom was the main villain of Spider-Man. So I'm not a big fan of the modern superhero universe. I'm just like some of the old cartoons. But long time, Dr. Doom was the main villain of Spider-Man. It's changed now, I guess. Right? This here is the letter O, right? The letter O. O represents this dot. The name of this dot, the center, is O. In most textbooks, the center will always be labeled O, right? You have to label points, like how the beginning of the arc is A or the end of the arc is B. All points technically should be labeled. Right? All right, let's go. That's more than enough time. Now, there's a little trick to rule two that the examiner likes to play on you. I'm going to say this again, right? For it to be rule two, the angles must be looking the same direction. Keep that in the back of your head, because annoying sir is saying it over and over. He must have a reason, right? Well, this is not the quick question. Is this rule two? Is this diagram here rule two? Yes or no? Let me know on the chat. Remember, only I can see your answers. Well, not on YouTube. Everyone on YouTube, if you send an answer, everyone could see it. But what I'm asking on Zoom, is this rule two? Well, the answer is obvious, right? For those who read what's on the screen, it is rule two. But how? You're not seeing two pairs of legs. You're not seeing four legs, but two legs are overlapping. Look at this. If I call here A and I call here B, this red leg is starting at A. It's hitting the circumference. Look at it. It hits the circumference and bounces back to B, the end of the arc. So let me just assume this angle is 10 degrees. I'm just saying if. Now look at the blue leg. You have a blue leg starting at A. It hitting what? The center. That dot is supposed to represent the center. In the exam, he'll put the letter O. And then it kind of bounces back and over. You notice it has two legs here. Our blue leg kind of resting on a pink leg, right? So the blue angle starts at A, it hits the center and bounces back to B. It's just in this case here, because two legs are kind of overlapping, you don't clearly see four legs. but it's still rule 2. So that means this blue angle is 20 degrees. The one at the center is twice the one at the circumference. And if you're drawing your little eyes, look at this. This eye is looking downwards and this eye is looking downwards. Both of them looking at the arc AB. They're looking the same general direction. Doesn't have to be the exact same direction. Just the general direction must be the same. So this here is a trick question, but then I have another trick after this. So everyone draw this diagram and take down the note, right? So I hope you all seen it there. And I think that's the best I can explain this. I don't think I'll be able to explain it better than this, right? If I explain it a different way, I think it'll be the same explanation. It's just one is touching the center and one is touching the circumference. And here you have the overlap of legs, right? It doesn't always have to be two distinct pair of legs. You don't have to see four, right? Draw it. When you finish, raise your hands. All right. So 10 more seconds. No, okay, sorry. People are complaining. 20 seconds, 20 seconds. All right, let's go. Now, there's a serious trick in rule 2 that even when I was going to school, I used to fall for this particular trick. There is this thing that looks like rule 2. When you already look at it, you're like, oh God, this is really not rule 2. So let me see if I can play the trick on you. Let me see how much of you all could see through my trickery. All right. All right. But this is just the upside down. I'm not going to make you draw this one, right? This is just the ups. This is just two different versions. So this is not a trick, by the way. You notice one is touching what? One of them is going to the center, and one of them is going to what? One is going to the circumference, and one is going to the center, right? The thing about this one, the one that's going to the circumference is just a little bit lower. Most people are accustomed seeing the one going to the circumference being very high or kind of directly over the center one. But that's not the actual rule, right? For it to be rule 2, one pair of legs has to go to the center. This is the center, look the dot there. And the other one has to go to the circumference. And both eyes, if you draw an eye here and an eye here, and both of them looking in the same general direction towards this arc here. So this is rule 2. In other words, if this one was 10 degrees, the one at the center would be 20 degrees. And this one here is the upside down version of this one. Like if you were to take this and spin it, so it's upside down, it's the same thing. Now, I'm not going to make you draw this, right? I just want to point it out there when we're going to have plenty examples today, like to work this out, to practice these things, sorry. You're going to be seeing these things over and over, and then I'm going to remind you of this diagram in any case. So do not take this down. It's not necessary. I want to get to the trick question with rule 2. That's my main thing. All right. So I have a question for you. Let's say for $1 million, which obviously I'm not going to pay you, but let's pretend that I would part with $1 million. If this green angle is 100 degrees, you'll need a calculator, right? What's the size of this yellow angle? First of all, is this rule 2? Anyway, send your answers. Think about it. I don't care if you get it wrong. The only thing I care about is that you try your best and produce an answer. I prefer to say a wrong answer than no answer at all. I just need to know you're trying on that side. So everyone draw that diagram and then you can send your answer on the chat. What's the size of the yellow angle for $1 million fake dollars? Right? So the majority of people are saying 200 or 50 degrees. Let's have a look at this, right? So it's normal to get this wrong. Like I said, it's a trick question. And I myself would have gotten this wrong if I could go back in time, right? Let me explain the build up of getting this question wrong. Let me explain the thought process. So you open your exam paper and you see this craziness. All you're going to see for the time being is this. One pair of legs touching the center. Another pair of legs touching what? The circumference. And that's what the majority of you all seeing there. At the end of the day, if you had to glance that as an unexperienced person, the first thing that's going to click in your head, I know, sir, tell me something about one touching the center, one angle touching the center, one angle touching the circumference. And he says some madness about one of them being twice as large as the other, right? So the one touching the center, that's this guy. He is the center guy. Isn't he the one who's always twice as large? You can turn back in the notes. The one touching the center is always be twice as large. So naturally, you will say 200 because 200 is twice as large as 100. I mean, technically, that is what I kind of tell you. And some of you would have just guessed 50 because you know one of them have to be half the other value. So you just say, all right, I just going to say 50. So some of you all would say 200 and some of you all would say 50. We have a little problem there, right? Let me explain why. Remember, for it to be rule 2, the eyes must be facing the same direction. So if I take this angle and convert it to an eye, and this eye, isn't the yellow one staring downwards? And isn't the green one staring upwards? Are they looking the same direction? Yes or no? Is that a situation where two eyes are staring the same direction? To me, that's the complete opposite. That's a case where two eyes look in the complete opposite direction. That is not rule 2. That is not rule 2. Not yet. But if you use a little bit, if you think outside the box, you will realize, wait now, this is rule 2. You all remember something from primary school? How much degrees does a circle have? Like a full circle. We all know like a triangle is 180 degrees, or all triangles. A circle, isn't it 360 degrees? All circles have 360 degrees. Do you all remember this, right? You could take a circle and break it up into different angles. Like, for example, instead of looking at the yellow angle, how about this angle here? Isn't there an angle behind this one? If I combine the red angle and the yellow angle, won't that be a full circle? Think about it. Let me erase this clutter here. Isn't this a full circle here? And if I take this big angle and convert it to an eye, isn't he looking upwards too? Look at that situation. I know they didn't tell us nothing about this red angle, but you have to use a, you have to think outside the box. Behind this yellow angle is the rest of the 360 degrees to make a full circle. Once again, the red angle plus the yellow angle is a full circle, and that total would be how much? 360 degrees. But the more amazing part, but the more convenient part is the green eye and the red eye are now looking in the same direction. Now, I know they ask you about the yellow eye. They want to know the value of the yellow angle. But we need to find that red angle first, right? The one touching the center is the red angle, and the one touching the circumference is the green angle. And the green and red are facing the same direction. So rule 2 is based on the red and the green. Anybody wants to tell me the size of the red angle now? Not the yellow, don't focus on that. If the green one is 100 degrees, using rule 2, because the red one is touching the center and looking the same general direction as the green one, won't the red one be 200 degrees? Won't it be twice as large as the green one? Look at it. The one at the center looking in the same direction as the green will be twice as large. You think you all could figure out the size of the yellow angle now? What would be the size of the yellow angle? If we just reason out using rule 2 that the red angle is 200 and a full circle is 200 degrees, they come like this. You have a full circle which is 200 degrees. If this piece here, if this piece, if you have a full circle and this piece is 200, how much is the yellow part underneath? A full circle is 360. You have 200 already. How much is the yellow portion? Easy question, guys. Everyone's supposed to get a correct from here. I'm giving him my best here. I'm giving him my best here. Right? Right? If you're in Form 1 and Form 2, remember this class is mainly for people going to Form 3 and above, right? And if you're in Form 2, Form 1 or Form 2, or you're going into Form 1, don't feel too bad if you don't catch everything, right? But my piece is more to suit the Form 3 and above today, right? You don't have to pick up on everything. You just have to pick up on some of the things. Right. It's how much? 160 degrees. All you had to do was take 360 and minus the red portion. 360 minus 200 is 160. So the yellow angle is what? Oh, that's a terrible color there. I'm gonna get a better color. Is 160 degrees. Everyone take down everything on the screen there for me. Right? You don't have to take down this note here, right? That is just irrelevant right now. Draw the diagram and put in the answers in it, right? The main thing here is to understand the reasoning right now, right? It's to understand the reasoning. This is me focusing on the fact that not because something looks like rule 2, because something touching the center and something touching the circumference means you could automatically say one is twice the size of the other, or one is half the size of the other. You have to keep remembering that part that I was so annoying about. I kept reminding you, for it to be rule 2, the eyes must also be looking in the same direction. Must. Right? And this here, I would say, is the most popular trick when it comes to rule 2 in the exams. The most popular trick. And I will keep doing examples like this as we go on from now to the end of the summer. You'll see me repeating this over and over and over. Right? Raise your hands when you're finishing, guys, so I'll know how to pace the class. Right? All right, so people are finished. Right? Take 20 more seconds. Right? We'll have a little brain relaxer just now. We'll do our next vote on which character is the best character. All right, so right. Let's see if the red team and green team. Let's take a little brain relaxer here. All right. Let's do a little shuffle and let's get 2 more characters. Oh, we get 2 even characters now. Ah, yes, this one should be good. Because I know everybody likes these 2 characters, right? So look at it. Choice A is Bumblebee from the Transformers. And choice B is Thor, which is Lord of Lightning, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So everyone, make up their mind. I'm going to launch the polls in a little while. Who are you a bigger fan of? Bumblebee or Thor? I totally despise Transformers. Shut it, and some of you all finish already. You can't finish drawing that so fast. If you really want to learn this topic, don't screenshot or don't pretend that you're drawing it. It takes longer than that to draw that diagram. Draw it neatly and follow my instructions and stop being, dishonest about drawing it. All right? You will not learn it the same way. All right? So only raise your hands when you honestly finish drawing it properly. exam, when they ask you to find an angle, they don't already point and say, hey, find this angle or find that angle. They just always put three letters to state which angle they want you to find. And you know that it could be a little confusing at first. If they want you to find angle ADB, right? And you're kind of trying, you're not too sure which angle they want you to find, always look at the middle letter. That's the best way to do this. The middle letter. You're probably studying, but why did they give me the middle letter? Why did they give me three letters and I have to know it's the middle letter? And that's life. All right. So in the first one, technically, they're asking you to find angle D, which is this angle here. All right. And similarly, in the next one, the angle they want you to find is angle C, which is this one. And in the next one, they want you to find angle B. Now, I know I said I was going to work out this first one for you, but you think you all could give this one a try? I just give it a try, right? I want you your best to try to figure out all three angles. It's either rule 1 or rule 2, or you have to use both of them. Remember, we only did 2 rules so far. So using rule 1 and rule 2, don't guess. Try to reason on which one is which one and send your answers on the chat, right? Once again, I don't care if you're wrong. Remember I said, I don't care if your answers are wrong. I just want you to try. All right. Let's try part E. Go to the next slide, right? So I only concentrated on part E, but I color-coded, for my explanations, I color-coded it. In the exam, it would just be black and white. You ain't getting no colors in the exam, right? So each pair of, how you say, associated lines, I put in different colors. You see the blue, you see a green, you see a kind of purpley and an orange. So the first one, they ask us to find what? Angle ADB. So that's this angle here. D, they want us to find, I'll color code it. They want us to find this blue angle here. That's angle D. Now, I have a good feeling this is rule number 2. If you forgot what rule number 2 is, you can just quickly turn back, obviously. Rule number 2 is the one that talks about one going to the center and one going to where? The circumference. And the one going to the center one is the one that's twice as large, right? Now, I know you're not seeing the arc. The examiner won't actually highlight the arc for you. But if I take point A and connect it to point B, like that, isn't this the arc here? The arc starts at A and it finishes at B. And look at the blue lines here. One pair of legs starts at A, the beginning of the arc. It hits the circumference and bounces back to B. So that's a blue pair of legs. Now look at the purple set of legs. One starts at A, the beginning of the arc. It hits the center, and goes back to B. But are the eyes facing the same direction? If I draw eye here, isn't he facing looking upwards? And if I draw eye here for the 144, isn't he looking upwards? Both of them are looking in the same general direction. They're both looking upwards. And one touching the center and one touching the circumference. Like I said, that's a clear case of rule 2. Which one is always be the larger one? The center. The circumference will be half the value. The one at the center is twice the value. So by default, the one at the center, the circumference is half. So if you take 144 and divide it by 2, you're going to get 72 degrees. So this is 72 degrees. How much people got that correct? I wasn't able to check all the answers. You can just raise your hands. 72 degrees, and you have to state the rule that you use. All right? Now, this is how you're going to write it for the examiner. In the exam, you can't just say rule 2. Let me explain why. If you're going different textbooks, there are 7 rules you're supposed to learn off in all. Do you really think the textbook has, if you go to 10 different textbooks, do you really think they have the rules in the same order? No, right? They will have it in different order. The examiner won't know what rule 2 is for you. I mean, I just call it rule 2 so we could communicate in class. In the exam, you have to do what? Give a full reason. Yes, I know you're probably rolling your eyes. You have to write a small paragraph, a statement of how you arrived at the angle ADB being 72, right? And when you're quoting angles, you have to quote 3 letters. You can't call this angle O. A, O, B. So this angle is AOB because the angle starts at A. The middle is O, the 144, and the angle extends out to B. So when you're naming angles, you have to use 3 letters in the exam. You just can't say, well, A angle D is half of angle O. Angle O official name is AOB. Like this green angle here, his official name is not C, you know. What 2 letters C extending out to? A and B. So you put C in the middle and you put A here and B here. Or you could put C here and put B and A here. When you're naming angles, you'll get accustomed to it in a little while. You have to know how to name it for the examiner. So everyone, if you notice, I wrote back rule 2 here and I explained to the examiner my thought process. Read through this. Make sure you understand it's the same thing we just did. It's rule 2. I just applied rule 2. But you have to write it out for the examiner. When you finish reading and taking it down, raise your hands. Like I said, this is the hardest topic I think it have in CXC maths. Because you have to be able to word out things, reason out things, see patterns. It's not just calculations, it's pattern recognition. Right? Oh, this is my advice. If you didn't catch everything in class, right? You all can see I'm moving as slow as I can. I'm a slow pacer, right? You can see that, right? I can't really move any slower, and that's okay. If you don't catch something, make sure and watch back the recording of the class. I will show everyone how to access the recordings of a class for the summer program. Sometimes you're just tired, but sometimes you're the type of person, you hear something for the first time. And it just doesn't always click the first time. You probably need to hear the same thing 2 or 3 times, like me. I grew up with having to do things 2 or 3 times to understand something, right? And I'm glad I have no problem. I just figured out how I needed to learn, right? So what I'm trying to say is, don't feel too depressed. I guarantee you, if you take a sleep and the next day you wake up and you watch back the recording with a fresh mind, you will catch it. But you have to make the time to, do it back a second time, right? Right? When you finish, raise your hands, and guys, when you taking down the work here. So this is ADB. And we use rule 2. And yeah, like I said, you have to write back in words what rule 2 is for the examiner. Right? So that's about 15 minutes, guys, right? Coming down close to the end of class, right? Yeah, for those who are asking, we just have 5 minutes left for class. And don't forget, there's English at 11:30, even though it's a Form 2, Form 3 class, Form 1 to Form 3, any Form 4, Form 5, or adult who want to review the basics in English, Miss say you all could come, You all could come, right? We have space. We still have part B to do. So for part B, they're asking us to find angle ACB. Now remember, we just figured out this angle here, down here, was 72 degrees. We now figure that out. So update your diagram. Make sure you have 72 down there. They want us to find angle ACB. ACB. That's this green angle here they want us to find. You all realize this is rule 1? I'm not too sure if you all saw that. Let me put back in the arc. Okay. Look at this. This is clearly rule 1. Forget the 144 degrees. Right? Look at this. The arc starts at A. It hits the circumference and bounces back to B, the end of the arc. And the green one starts at A. It also hits the circumference and bounces back to B. And both the eyes, the green eye and the 72, the 144 have nothing to do with this. You have nothing, don't even look there. This blue eye, where the 72 is looking upwards, and this green one is also looking upwards. This is clearly rule number 1. Both of them touch the circumference. Both of them both legs start at A, finish at B, and looking in the same direction. So that means the green one is also 72. Remember, rule 1 said both of them would be the same exact angle, right? But how you put that in writing for the examiner? Remember, you can't say, hey, examiner, I use rule 1. He won't know what rule 1 is. You have to write out what rule 1 is. So you have to memorize in words, word for word, what is rule 1. And then you write a little paragraph showing the examiner how you arrive at ACB is also 72 degrees. That is what you have to write, or something very, very similar to it to get full marks in the exam. Write it down, and when you finish, raise your hands. Right. Can't remember what part C was. Part C is angle ODA. Now, this one is a little harder. If you trace the 3 letters, OBA, you see, if you look at the middle letter here, you don't know whether B is this angle, this angle, this angle, or the whole thing, right? It could be a little confusing which one is B by looking at the center letter. So in a case like this, you have to be a little more accurate. OBA, trace the 3 letters. Start at O, go to B, and then go to A. And let's see where the center of that is. You start at O, go to B, and then go to A. It's this angle they want you to find, right? So let me draw that in a little bit neater for you all. They want you to find this angle here between the purple line and the orange line, right? Now, we're gonna have to review something very, very quickly here with SCA maths. You'll remember something called an isosceles triangle? Remember an isosceles triangle? 2 sides have the same length and 2 angles are the same. Tell me something. Are these 2 purple lines the same length? Isn't this purple line a radius, RAD? Isn't this purple line another radius? Because both of them starting at the center and going towards the circumference. And both of those would have the same length. Because 2 radius, it's the same circle, right? So if here's 10 centimeters, then here's also 10 centimeters. So that means that this here is an equilateral triangle. This length and this length is the same. Remember the symbol for same lengths? You put a little stroke like that in SCA maths. Okay? So those 2 lengths are the same, which means this angle and this angle is the same. These 2 angles are the same. It's an isosceles triangle. Remember how you they call these the base angles. The 2 angles that are the same are called the base angles. You think you can finish off that question now using SCA maths? If in the maths, exam, they gave you an equilateral triangle, sorry, isosceles triangle like this. And they told you here was 144. And they're asking you for this angle here. How would you find that angle? Remember, all the angles in a triangle add up to how much? 180 degrees. And these two angles here, this one and this one, have the same exact value. You can more than finish off that question for me, right? You just have to remember, if two radius have the same length and they create a triangle, it's going to be an isosceles triangle. What's the value of angle B? You can use a, somebody asked me, yeah, you can use a calculator. Definitely use a calculator. Whenever you can't use a calculator, I'll make it super clear, right? Right. So answers are coming up. It's just you take the 180 degrees because a full triangle is 180. You minus the 144 degrees. Let me do that. 180 minus 144 is 36 degrees. So the 36, remaining 36, has to split up evenly between these two because these are the base angles in the isosceles triangle. So you divide it by 2, so you get 18 degrees. So this angle will be 18 degrees. Like I said, that's based on FCA maths, right? Once you've realized, wait, no. So this question really, the third part had nothing to do with rule 1 or rule 2. It came back to what? SEA maths, right? But let me put this in words. You have to be able to express this for the examiner. You just can't drop 18 on the screen there on your exam paper and expect it to get it correct, right? Look at here. I have the eggs. Well, something very similar to what to say to get full marks. Now, you got to keep in mind that for the exam, everybody's going to write these things slightly different. But once you convey the same message, you're going to get the full marks. Read it, take it down, raise your hands when you finish, and we have a few things to discuss. All right. So we have three things to do again. We have about, we'll be finished here in 5 minutes, guys. Don't worry, don't worry. Okay. All right. So the first thing is, I know some people are asking where to get the recordings. The recordings, tonight on each WhatsApp channel, I will put the link to access the recordings, right? The recordings are going to be real easy to figure to access. I can't send it on the Zoom chat, but for those who hear, I'm sending the link to access the recording. So I'll put it on the chat. So you can save it, but I'll put it on the WhatsApp channel as well. When you go to the WhatsApp channel, this is it. It's real easy. You'll see Monday Math, and I will put the recording link for today's class here. And then you'll see one for English, POA. It's super, super easy to use, right? Nobody is going to get problems with that. All right. So I will send it on the channel. Make sure and read it through and everything, right? The other thing is, you'll all notice that a lot of people, well, I don't know if you all know, a lot of people didn't come to class today, right? And a lot of people usually do sign up, but they don't come. That's okay. I have a plan, right? So, but my name is Mr. Synonym. There are two Mr. Synonyms. Mine's A synonym. They have a K synonym. I'm Mr. A. These are the subjects I teach: maths, add maths, physics, chemistry, integrated science, and biology, and whatnot. Usually when you come to my classes, the team you pick, you're stuck with that team. But the one thing I want to put here is that the Add Maths class, which is on Thursday, I want everybody here who's from like who in Form 4, Form 5, and who's an adult, please come the Add Maths class. I know some of you are not doing Add Maths in school, but Add Maths have plenty similar topics to regular boring maths, which is our maths. I doing those topics. In fact, in the Add Maths class, I'm running through simultaneous equations, quadratics, right? I'm doing plenty things that would help you with maths. So I'm asking you all, even though if you're not doing Add Maths, please come the Thursday class. Also, if you're not good at foundation maths like algebra, make sure and come the Saturday maths class. In fact, just come all the maths classes. It will help you. Okay? Now, before we move here today, I can't let the other teams, the red and green team, go down like that. Let's take another spin. Let's earn some points here. YouTube, y'all left. Who do you all think is better here? That's the monster from Star Wars. Chewie, or are you a Shrek fan? Let me know. Right? Come. I can't let the blue team and the other team leave it all the points here. Think on it. A or B? A, Chewie from the Star Wars universe, or B, Shrek? Think on it. Gonna launch the polls now. And then we're gonna tally up the points to see which team came out with the most points today, and we're gonna keep track of it, right? Don't leave, guys, don't leave. I see some people busting out like they don't care already. Stay, right? Just a few more seconds. Right, don't leave, and guys, that's something important I need for you all. One more thing to discuss with you all. I see some people bust out, but they won't get the important message just now, right? All right. Share results. It seems that Shrek won. I assume that Shrek would win. Okay? So let's see what points Shrek have, right? Well, the red team got 16 points and the yellow team 10 points. The green team, we are behind. So let's tally up the points for today, right? I use this to keep track now. The red team has 16 points. Blue team left today with 25 points. Green team has 0, and the yellow team left with 18 points today. So whenever you come to my class now, we're going to keep track of which team is on top. So my team is, you all will notice a lot of people didn't come to class today, right? So like I said, I'm going to give up the people who didn't come to class today. Obviously, I have no problems. They signed up and they didn't come, right? So if you all have any friends who want to join today's class, you always see my number at the bottom of the screen, right? I could use the help here. I want to fill out all the spaces. Tell them just WhatsApp me and just say the word fish. Yeah, you heard correct, fish. That's all they need to type in the WhatsApp message. And if they type that, they will get the links and the timetable to join classes. Of course, you don't have to wait for them to WhatsApp me. If you want to give them the links and you want to give them the timetable to join, they can start from today, right? But like I said, I have about 400 spaces to give away. I could really use your assistance, guys. And anybody who wants to help me share the flyer, please post it up on your WhatsApp status or any school groups or give your teachers now, right? I hope you all learned a lot today. And guys, I hope I hope Miss sees you all at 11:30 for English class. All right, guys. Have a good day. And well, I don't really have much else to say. Take care, guys. Have a good one. All right. Feel free to share the information. Feel free. Take care. And the guys on YouTube, take care. Take care.